I've been waiting for you. One Friday night, I came home near midnight after a long 14-hour workday. I was exhausted and ready for a night of peace and quiet. As soon as I got home, I got settled in, sat down, and turned on my computer to play games with a few friends. We played for a few hours until I started feeling tired around 2 in the morning. I was about ready to log off and get some sleep. I told my friends that I was about to log off. However, no one responded. It was as if no one heard me. I repeated myself 2 more times and still no answer. I found this odd considering that my headset was pretty much new. However, I didn't think too much of it and simply wrote it off as being a server problem. As soon as I disconnected from the chat server, I noticed that my mouse started to move a lot slower than usual. I was trying to shut my computer down for the night, and then suddenly my screen seemed to have started glitching. This was the first time I'd ever seen anything like this happen. My computer was a few years older than I would like to admit. Slowdowns and crashing weren't necessarily unusual for me. However, what happened next was completely unexpected. An extremely loud static sound came through my monitor and headset at the same time. I threw the headset off and scrambled around to mute the sound as quick as possible. My heart was racing and my ears were ringing. I just sat there for a minute. Just then, my home screen faded out and I was greeted with something even more horrifying. A completely red screen faded in, illuminating the entire room. I now had the sure feeling that I was being hacked. Something then faded into the center of the screen. It was the silhouette of someone in a mask looking right into the screen. I thought this was a still image at first, until he or she started moving their head as if they were looking around. I also noticed that they started moving their mouth, as if they were trying to talk to me. Out of curiosity, I slightly turned up the volume again so I could hear what he was saying. Thankfully, the static from earlier was gone. What I heard now was a distorted, robotic-sounding voice. It was hard to understand what was even being said. They just repeated one phrase over and over. When I was finally able to make out what was being said, I heard the words, "Look left." To my left was my large living room window. I usually leave it open so that the moonlight would illuminate the room. I turned very slowly to see what was out there, not knowing at all what to expect. Standing right at the window was someone wearing a mask that completely covered his face, and it looked exactly like the one on my computer screen. As soon as I spotted him, he took off into the night. I ran outside with a knife in hand and looked all over the area. There was no trace of him. I then went inside, closed every window, locked every door, and stayed on the lookout. It was completely silent outside, and when I checked my computer again, I saw that it was normal, as if nothing happened to it. Eventually, fatigue started settling in, and I was struggling to stay awake more than ever. I tried my hardest to stay awake, and eventually I ended up falling asleep. Around 8 a.m. the next morning, I woke up and looked around the room. At first glance, nothing looked out of place. I felt at ease at first, until something in the corner of the room caught my eye. Upon inspection, I saw that it was a mask. The exact same type of mask that I saw on my screen yesterday. Somehow, someone had made their way into my house while I was sleeping yesterday. I frantically started looking through the house and dialed 911 while I did so. Police showed up in about 15 minutes, and they did a search of their own while I waited outside. As I expected, they came up with nothing too. Whoever was in my house was long gone. Why did they target me? That is something I have yet to figure out.
Shit.